Veterans Day. Veterans Day. Focus question. Why is Veterans Day important? Introduction. Veterans Day is a U.S. holiday set aside to honor veterans. Veterans are people who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces. They may or may not have fought in wars. The U.S. Armed Forces include the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. Today, there are about 18 million veterans in the United States. Many more millions of Americans served in wars in which the United States fought. Those who died are remembered on another holiday called Memorial Day. Veterans Day honors all veterans living and dead. History of Veterans Day. Veterans Day actually began as a different holiday. Armistice, Armistice Day, this holiday celebrated the end of that was known as the Great War. The United States entered the Great War in 1917. The militaries of the United States, Great Britain, France, and Russia fought together in the war and considered each other allies. In all, more than 4 million Americans fought. In 1918, the Great War came to an end after more than 4 years. There were more than 37 million casualties in the Great War. The modern world has never experienced such wartime loss of life. On November 11, 1918, both sides signed an armistice that ended the fighting. The armistice started on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of the year. Why puppies? On Veterans Day, some veterans wear a little red puppy on their shirts. Some hand out puppies and accept donations. The donations that the U.S. Veterans and Foreign Wars (VFW) collect are used to help wounded or disabled veterans. Puppies grow in a region called Flanders, which stretches across areas of France and Belgium. Many soldiers died there during World War I. A Canadian Army surgeon named John McRae served in Flanders and wrote a poem called I'm in Flanders Fields. The poem speaks of poppies growing in an alleyed graveyard between the crosses row on row. Even now, the red poppy helps live alive the memory of those fallen soldiers. It raises funds of soldiers living today. The puppy helps the VFW, living up to its motto, to honor the dead by helping the living. In September 1939, another war started in Europe. Many more soldiers were sent to fight, and even more soldiers were killed than in the Great War. People later called this war World War II and then referred to the Great War as World War I. After the war, many Americans started to call for recognition of World War II veterans. What's more, they wanted all veterans to be honored, not just those who fought in wars. Like many American presidents before and after him, Dwight D. Eisenhower was a veteran. He was an Army general during World War II and was later made Supreme Commander of the Allied forces in Europe. On June 1st, 1954, President Eisenhower signed a bill that changed the name Armistice Day to Veterans Day. The bill also changed the purpose of the day to honor all veterans who had served in the U.S. Armed Forces. Veterans Day was to be celebrated on November 11th. Life as a vet. From 1940 to 1973, the United States used a military draft to bring men into the military. During that time, many young men have to serve, usually from 1 to 2 years. But the draft grew unpopular when men were made to fight in a war people in the country stopped supporting. The war in Vietnam. In 1973, the draft ended and the U.S. force became an all-volunteer force. Even when vets choose to serve, their life often isn't easy. Whether or not they face combat, they were often stationed overseas. While this can be an adventure, it also means they must leave behind family and friends for months, even years. They miss birthdays and graduations. Sometimes babies are born while families are apart. Upon their return to civilian life, many vets attend college. They receive tuition from the federal government through a program called the GI Bill, first signed into law by President Franklin Roosevelt in 1944. Since then, millions of vets have gone to college thanks to GI Bill funding. In recent years, however, many vets have had troubles finding jobs. Some vets who served in the war in Iraq and Afghanistan left the military only to find that their skills were not what civilians employers needed. Some veterans who faced combat during their service have also been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD). It can present in the form of depression, anger, grief, fear, or guilt. Victims of PTSD may suffer many different symptoms. These symptoms can make a work and home life challenging. These vets often face a high rate of unemployment, which can lead to homelessness and food insecurity. Because vets have to rely on each other during combat in order to survive, many vets feel a special loyalty to one another. Civilians may not understand the reality of war or military life like those with shared experiences do. As a result, loyalty between vets often lasts far beyond the years of service. Veterans groups try to offer veterans help and support. Two such groups are the Veterans of Foreign Wars (VFW) and the American Legion. Honoring the brave. The Medal of Honor is the nation's highest military honor. It is awarded by the President of the United States to members of the armed forces who go above and beyond the call of duty during combat. In doing so, they risk their lives of those they fight beside. Often recognition comes so long after the veteran has died. The American Legion in action. The American Legion is the nation's largest veteran service organization. Across the nation, American Legion members pledge to help one another in times of need. In May of 2011, the town of Joplin, Missouri was devastated by a tornado. From 1,300 miles away, American Legion members in New York State took note. They gathered enough supplies to fill a 224-foot truck. 4 members drove it west. The truck was filled with things Joplin needed: clothing for adults and children, blankets, sheets, toiletries, and cash. In Joplin, Legion members spent the next week getting the supplies to those in need. Asked why they drove more than 1,000 miles to help, one Legion member said, "It's who we are. It's what we do. A legionary is a legionary. It's that simple." Honoring Veterans Day. As on many other holidays, government offices and buildings are closed. Some businesses and most schools around the country close as well. Schools stay often conduct activities or lessons about veterans and Veterans Day. Some communities offer served days in which students make care packages for soldiers serving abroad. Some citizens deliver or serve free meals to poor and hungry people, sometimes including veterans who need help. Often on Veterans Day, the President or Vice Presidents of the United States visited Arlington National Cemetery, located near Washington, D.C. Many members of the military are buried there, along with former presidents such as John F. Kennedy. The tomb of the unknown soldiers also found at Arlington. In wartime, soldiers who die sometimes cannot be identified because of their injuries. Sometimes there are very few remains of a soldier's body. Some soldiers' bodies are never found. After World War I, the British decided to create a tomb for the soldier who was killed in action but could not be identified. The United States did the same. On November 11, 1921, an American soldier killed in France was buried in the tomb of the unknown soldier. Since then, an unidentified soldier has been buried there from everywhere in which the United States fights. On Veterans Day, cities all over the nation have parades to honor veterans. A parade of flags takes place next to the tomb of the unknown soldier. Some veterans march in the parade. People wave flags to honor the veterans and the sacrifices they made for their country. Conclusion. Now that you've learned about Veterans Day, consider how you might honor veterans. There are many different ways. First, visit a veteran at a Veterans Administration hospital or community center. Second, place flags or wreaths in military graves at a cemetery to memorial for veterans in your area. 3. Write a thank you note to a veteran or send a care package to a soldier serving abroad. 4. Learn about the history of wars or speaking to veterans about their experiences. Veterans Day, November 11th, is a day we can remember those who have served in the military and those who have been killed in war.